Many of you probably heard the news about Mandalorian star Gina Carano getting fired by Lucasfilm, essentially Disney, over some controversial posts she made on Instagram. She was one of the recurring characters in the hit show Mandalorian, and because she was outspoken, the left has repeatedly tried to get her canceled. Well, we got really big news. One of the most amazing things I've heard in a long time. Cause for optimism. Ben Shapiro's company, The Daily Wire, has announced they will be producing a film with Gina Carano for which she will be starring in. My friends, Gina is uncanceled. They had to get rid of her. Why? She's outspoken. She challenges the narrative. They tried canceling her back a few months ago when she put fake pronouns in her Twitter profile that said boop, bop, beep, when people were demanding that she do it. And as I later learned, she was actually just making a joke about R2-D2 and didn't take it all that seriously. She later took this out. The left wants to cancel and destroy and excise anybody who dares oppose their fringe ideology. Now, I want to clarify, when I say the left, I mean the woke, culty leftists. There are some progressives who are not woke, but they tend to be few and far between at this point. And right now, the cultural institutions are all pretty much woke and authoritarian. They'll fire you from your job, even if your opinion isn't controversial. Case in point, Gina Carano. What she posted was basically her saying, don't demonize your neighbors like they did in World War II Germany. They argued that she was trivializing the plight of the Jewish people, and she really wasn't. What she was saying could have easily been said by any one of these leftists. So they will seek to destroy you. There's one way to win. Okay, well, there's more than one way to win, but the one very powerful way to win, which I've been saying for some time now, is building and creating culture, which is why this story is so awesome. They fired her. United Talent dropped Gina Carano. Many were speculating this could be the end of her career in entertainment. Ben Shapiro's company said, hey, we make movies. Why don't you do a movie with us? That's the key. Build your own culture. Start building your own infrastructure. I know it's not easy. Many people have said, make your own social media platform. It's very difficult when at every level of a business, from financial institutions to server hosting companies, they could ban you too. Well, the Daily Wire has put their money where their mouth is, and they've started producing movies. They have one movie out called Run, Hide, Fight. And this is where things get stupid. You see, we've long seen this in the entertainment industry. When a movie comes out that is normal, I guess, or in any way could make a conservative idea look good, it is panned universally by woke journalists in these media institutions, even when the audience loves it. We've seen it over and over again. Take a look at Dave Chappelle's comedy special on Netflix, the one he did not that long ago. Maybe, I think it was like a year or two, actually. Now, it's been a while, where he made some pretty offensive jokes. The audience loved it. It was overwhelmingly, universally praised. I mean, come on, Dave Chappelle is a genius, probably the greatest comedian of our generation, one of the funniest men on the planet, if not the funniest man on the planet. And many of us grew up watching Chappelle's show knowing this guy is legit funny. And he's even kind of left on a bunch of these social justice issues. But the journalists, the critics at these news outlets universally panned this stand-up performance. Shockingly insane. Cancel culture wants to remove people from these industries, but they can't cancel you if you build your own. Now, there are problems here. What we're going to start seeing is tribal capitalism. And I mean it. One of the other big stories has been that because My Pillow, a pillow company, was so prominent, some lefties like David Hogg announced they'd make their own pillow company. So what? We're going to buy pillows because it supports the politics we like? Is that why we're buying pillows? Honestly, I think it's all downright crazy that this is where we're going, but we have to. It is not the conservatives that are going around getting people fired from their jobs for having opinions. In fact, most conservatives tend to, for the most part, let leftists have their dumb opinions even when they don't like them. But it's the left that says fire them and ban them. What's really interesting with this Gina Carano story is I've seen people saying she was warned and she didn't take the warning seriously and she got fired. I was like, warned for what? Posting memes? If you tell someone they can't speak, but others can, because Pedro Pascal on the show also had spicy memes and spicy opinions, then you've got a serious problem. And you've got problems of ideological bias. So it's only a matter of time before conservatives start building their own infrastructure. And it could lead to dangerous places. So let's talk about it. Before we do, make sure you head over to timcast.com because, we've set up this website where we have members-only content. In the event that we get banned, the Timcast IRL podcast, or I get banned from this channel, you can find my content at timcast.com. But ladies and gentlemen, I also have a very serious and major announcement. You see, I've decided to put my money where my mouth is as well. So you can go to timcast.com, become a member, watch our exclusive post. We just did an episode with Blair White where Luke was ragging on the mainstream media and Blair was talking about these crazy COVID rules. You can watch that. But you know what? I decided to start my own pillow company. That's right. You see, I saw this story, Good Pillow versus My Pillow, how to sign up for David Hogg's pillow fight. Okay. Well, I don't know when David Hogg is actually going to get around to making his leftist version of a pillow, so I decided to do it for him. Announcing, if you go to timcast.com and click shop, the official Our Pillow. That's right. You go to timcast.com, click shop, and then you'll see it right there. The beautiful Our Pillow is now available. I've launched my own pillow company. Our Pillow is a pillow for everyone. The pillow is not for you. The pillow is not for me. The pillow is for us. I'm joking, by the way. It's a gag piece of merch. I hope you appreciate it. It's meant to be silly and mock the whole thing. It's not mocking the left directly or the right or my pillow or anything like that. It's just a joke mocking the whole system and everything that's going on. Go to timcast.com if you want to get Our Pillow today. But let's read the actual news, and then we'll break down what's going on with Ben Shapiro's company. And I got to say this. I am absolutely impressed by Ben Shapiro's work on this one. Not just Ben. Okay, it's the Daily Wire. And, Ben for a while was editor-in-chief. I don't know his exact position right now. We'll read it in the story. But what the Daily Wire is doing is incredible. The movie they made, Run, Hide, Fight, is apparently, I hear it's pretty good. That's what you need to do. So I've talked about creating the vlog and making our own content because you inspire people and you build culture. That's how you win this fight. That's how you win the culture war. It's always been amazing to me, honestly, that we're calling this the culture war, and conservatives were obsessed with electoral politics and not focused on making culture. Many people on the right or associated with the right or whatever, disaffected liberals, have complained about video games or movies and the things that are being made. Start making them. If you don't like what they're doing, don't give them money. Make your own. Gina Carano hits back. Announces new movie project with Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire. They can't cancel us if we don't let them. This is some of the coolest stuff I have heard in a long time. The answer to the ongoing culture war. For a decade now or longer, we've heard about social justice, critical theory infecting video games and movies, and now we have it. People making their own. Don't get me wrong. People have started making their own comics. People have started making their own video games. Well, now we are going to see A-level blockbuster type movies starring people who the left tried to excise. Gina Carano is awesome, in my opinion. I like the Mandalorian show. I think it's really good. I thought it was a little slow in the first season. Now it's getting really great. The end of the second season I thought was awesome. And I think Gina Carano is an or Cara Dune, her character in Mandalorian, was awesome. And she was also in Deadpool. Thought that was cool, too. I don't care all that much about the politics of the individual. Chris Evans has awful politics, too. I think he's great as Captain America. Why is it that I, as a fan of these comic book movies and of these, I'm not a big fan of the Star Wars universe at this point, but Mandalorian, gotta say, the best sequel to the original series so far. Why is it that I can be like, yeah, I know that Mark Ruffalo's got nasty politics and so does John Cheadle, but I think they're really great in their roles and I enjoy their work. It's people like that, like Seth Rogen, who will just be nasty and mean to you and rag on you. I don't like that. I don't like the bullies, but I'll still appreciate their art and their movies. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I shouldn't give them money because they often tend to be snarky, snide, and mean people. Chris Evans is okay. He's very politically left. It's kind of annoying sometimes, but he's a cool dude. He spoke with Republicans. He did this interview thing, and he's allowed to have his opinions. I think, there's a lot of people on the left who probably feel similarly to Gina Carano. The only issue is I'm not calling for Chris Evans to be fired for having his opinions. Here's the story. Deadline says less than 24 hours after her explosive ouster from Star Wars series The Mandalorian for incendiary social media posts, Gina Carano has hit back at her detractors and revealed a new movie project she is making with conservative website The Daily Wire. Carano told us today, quote, "The Daily Wire is helping make one of my dreams, to develop and produce my own film, come true. I cried out and my prayer was answered. I am sending out a direct message of hope to everyone living in fear of cancellation by the totalitarian mob. I have only just begun using my voice, which is now freer than ever before. And I hope it inspires others to do the same. They can't cancel us if we don't let them." Standing ovation, figuratively, because I'm sitting down doing a recorded segment. This is one of the coolest things ever. I'll tell you, the other night, or 2 nights ago, on the IRL podcast, we were actually looking at this story about how they were trying to cancel Gina Carano over her posts. I didn't think it was going to happen. But I was like, I've been watching The Mandalorian, seeing her on it. She's really cool. It would be awesome to have her on the show. We didn't think much of it. And then by the end of the episode, we finished. We didn't talk about it on the show, on the podcast. We're coming downstairs. We're all done. And then boom, there it is. Whoa, they actually fired her. I couldn't believe it. I recorded about what happened in the morning, the next day. And then later that night on the show, we were like, she's probably, because we did a whole segment about it, probably distraught over this. She got booted from her talent agency. She got kicked off one of the hottest shows right now. I was going to say on TV, but it's like Disney Plus. And Luke, who's on the IRL podcast with me, he was saying she's probably, in like a bad place. And I was like, I don't know, man. Gina Carano is an MMA fighter. And she won I think her record is 7-1, 7 victories. She won 7 fights. She lost 1. She seems like she's particularly tough. And I'll tell you this, when she got the news, I don't think she cried. I think she got pissed off. She probably got angry. She probably got amped up, get that adrenaline flowing, because she seems like the kind of person who's going to fight back and not let them get her down. So what was really going on behind the scenes? I got to tell you, I am inspired by this. Gina, you are awesome. She started working with the Daily Wire to fight back. This is the coolest thing ever. I'm so stoked on this. It is cause for optimism. The authoritarian woke mob will not be able to shut everyone down, especially if they start building their own. And here we go. They say Carano will develop, produce, and star in the upcoming film, which the Daily Wire says it will release exclusively to its members as the company looks to bolster its entertainment division. Details are being kept under wraps, but it will be produced as part of Daily Wire's partnership with Bone Tomahawk producer Dallas Sonnier and his Bonfire Legend banner. Quote, "We could not be more excited to be working with Gina Carano, an incredible talent dumped by Disney and Lucasfilm for offending the authoritarian Hollywood left. This is what Daily Wire exists to do. Provide an alternative not just for consumers, but for creators who refuse to bow to the mob," said Daily Wire co-founder Shapiro. Ben Shapiro, class act, incredible, absolutely incredible. "We're eager to bring Gina's talent to Americans who love her, and we're just as eager to show Hollywood that if they want to keep canceling those who think differently, they'll just be helping us build the X-Wing to take down their Death Star," he added. Bravo, good sir. Bring it on. Start canceling them. You want to fire Chris Pratt? Chris Pratt's awesome. Chris Pratt one day was wearing a Gadsden flag shirt, and they tried to get him canceled because of it. For those that aren't familiar, this is the star, one of the main characters in Guardians of the Galaxy, an awesome series. He was in Jurassic World. He was on Parks and Recreation. Dude, Chris Pratt is amazing. And he doesn't bother people. He doesn't tweet nasty things. He seems to be a pretty rad dude. And they still try to get him fired. Why? Because he's a Christian conservative. That is insane. But you know what? Hey, I wish the best for the man. But if they really want to fire him, there is infrastructure being built to say to all of these authoritarian psychopaths in Hollywood, the more you excise your own employees, stars, collaborators, contractors, the more you are giving them away to your own competition. Incredible. I mean, Ben Shapiro nailed it. You want to help them? You want to help everyone else build the X-Wing and take down your Death Star? By all means, go ahead and do it. Gina Carano is a rising star. I mean, she's in Deadpool. Now she's in Mandalorian, a recurring character. I'm not going to come out and pretend like she's, as big as, Gwyneth Paltrow or Tom Cruise or something. But she was getting more and more prominent roles, getting more and more features. And she has a great character in Mandalorian, in my opinion. Well, now her star is going to be rising, and she's not going to be left behind. She's now going to become bigger and better than ever. They say Carano's controversial social media post yesterday, described by Lucasfilm as abhorrent, saw her turfed from The Mandalorian by the studio and ditched by her agency UTA. The former MMA star and Deadpool actress played bounty hunter Cara Dune on the first 2 seasons of Lucasfilm and Disney Plus's hit series. They say she shared a TikTok post, I guess. It was someone else, and I'm not going to read it, but I'll just tell you this. You probably know this by now, but just to bring it up. The post was basically saying, don't let authoritarians turn neighbor against neighbor. I wouldn't be surprised if the same post came from a leftist complaining about Donald Trump, to be completely honest. They just want excuses to fire people. Well, let me show you something. I want to explain to you what's happening right now. We have this. This is from the Daily Wire, from Ben Shapiro, why the Daily Wire is getting into the entertainment business. Ben writes, as 2021 begins, the Daily Wire is about to launch into a new arena, the arena of entertainment, and we want to explain why. Ben says, my mentor, Andrew Breitbart, always said politics is downstream of culture. What he meant by this is that more people are shaped by the culture that surrounds them than by politics directly. We consume movies and TV shows. We get together and discuss the latest in sports. We join in churches and in universities and at restaurants to discuss our lives. We swim in a sea of culture. In large part, we're defined by the culture in which we swim. Then, every so often, we're asked to weigh in on issues surrounding politics, issues like tax rates, abortion, religious freedom. We don't come to those questions as blank slates. We bring all of our feelings, all of our experiences, our culture to bear. That's why when I'm asked how to raise a conservative kid, my first two recommendations are cultural rather than political. Go to church or synagogue or mosque and regularly attend 4th of July parades. But conservatives have never truly understood the cultural battle. Yes, we occasionally fight the culture war from time to time. We fight back against some idiotic TV show or nasty movie. We'll mobilize others to unsubscribe from Netflix over promotion of reprehensible material. We'll stop watching the Oscars after being insulted one too many times. But the simple truth is that we conservatives live increasingly in the same culture as those on the left. Because our media are national in scope, we consume the same sort of material as those who disagree with us. We may yell at Netflix, Apple TV, Hulu, and Disney Plus, and ESPN, but most of us still subscribe to one of those services. And Daily Wire and Fox News and conservative media aren't competition for those services, either in what they do or in the numbers they reach. Fox News' primetime numbers this year, which were stellar, averaged about 3.6 million people. Netflix has over 70 million U.S. subscribers. The difference between the reach of political content and entertainment content is at least an order of magnitude. There is a reason millions of people believe lies about conservatives. They've been trained to do so by a culture that despises conservatives. So conservatives have two choices. They can tune out or they can find alternatives. And he goes on to basically break it down. He says, get ready, 2021 is going to be a wild ride. So check this out. We get this from the Daily Beast, the ugly backstory of Ben Shapiro's first movie, Run, Hide, Fight. Molding minds, they say. That's it. The far left authoritarian woke cultists are figuring out the real danger of what the Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro are doing by offering up alternatives to the woke insanity. And they must fight against it. Smear pieces, reviews, demonizing and saying we're disgusted by this. I've been talking to some very prominent people. You know, the other day on the IRL podcast, I had Blair White, and she was saying how, you know, once you start making a lot of this content and expressing yourself, you'll notice a lot of famous people sliding into your DMs, basically saying, I agree with you. You're awesome. What you're doing is great. Your opinions. Oh, man, I wish I could say the things you say. That bothers me. I can respect that they're reaching out because it happens to me all the time. It happens to Blair. We get people who are prominent, who are famous, who work in Hollywood, who work in these industries, who say, I wish I could express my opinion. And I say this every time to them. You can. So long as you are scared is the only reason they hold you back. If you realize that together, if everybody just said their opinion at the same time, they couldn't fire everybody, you would be fine. It's your fear that is oppressing you. But they tell me, I'll lose my job. I'll lose my show. I'll lose my sponsorship. I'll lose my label. You're going to lose it anyway. What happens when you write a song that's seemingly innocuous and they say it doesn't align with our equity values? And you'll say, but it's not political. Well, it should be in favor of us. It's one thing to not be offensive to the people who are offended by everything. But what happens when you write a song that doesn't promote their ideology? Do you see where this goes? If you think that you can sit back in Hollywood and let them do this and they will leave you alone, you are wrong. Right now, you're saying, well, it's not my fault Gina Carano got fired. She posted a spicy meme about not demonizing your neighbors in World War II Germany. What she posted was offensive. So long as I don't post anything like that, no one will fire me. Then one day they're going to come to you and say, why aren't you posting in favor of our equity platform? Why didn't you choose to attend our screening of our new equity documentary? And why won't you star in our new equity film? And you'll say, I just didn't. Well, you're canceled. There was a politician, I believe it was in the UK. A journalist reached out and said, we couldn't help but notice that you aren't attending our equity conference. Why are you rejecting diversity, equity, and inclusion? And this got published and they were saying this politician was, far right or insulting them, saying they didn't believe in true equity. And then the politician was like, I was already scheduled for, for work and I didn't get your email in time. Doesn't matter. Right now, they'll tell you you'll get canceled for saying the wrong thing. And eventually the wrong thing will be not supporting them. Eventually they'll come to you and demand that you tweet exactly what they want you to say. And when you don't, you will get canceled. Hiding will not save you. Sooner or later, they'll knock on your door and say, we demand you pledge allegiance to the cult. And when you say, look, man, I'm just going to mind my own business, then they'll say, then you lose your job. That's where we're headed. That's why you must speak up. That's why they will go out and smear Ben Shapiro's film. It's hilarious. Check this out. Over at Rotten Tomatoes, what do we get? Run, Hide, Fight. The first of Ben Shapiro's films. I say Ben Shapiro, but let's be honest. It's the Daily Wire. There's a lot of people involved. Ben Shapiro is just like the main dude, I guess. Run, Hide, Fight has over 1,000 ratings with an audience score of 93%. I have asked people about the film. Most of them say the same thing. Not the greatest film ever made. It's intense. It's pretty good. That's what I've heard. I haven't seen it myself. I'll go check it out. The tomato meter has a 25%. Why? It is all of the woke journalists, the woke film critics, ragging on the movie, saying the movie is bad. The critical reception is in the gutter and, don't see it. It's crass and full of tropes and it's just awful. Really? Why does the audience like it? There's a movie, it's called, I forgot what this movie is called. It's got Bruce Willis in it. I've referenced it several times in segments about culture. It's about Bruce Willis and his wife gets murdered, I think. And then, he basically gets revenge. And that's about it. And they heavily criticized the movie. I don't know why. I guess it's because Bruce Willis goes to a gun store and buys a gun and then uses it. They don't like it. It's funny when it comes to video games. There are things they call walking simulators. That's what the critics call it. The anti-woke individuals, anti-SJW, whatever you want to call them. Because most video games will have some element of violence in them. Like even in Mario Brothers, he literally jumps on turtles, basically bashing them in the head, and he throws fireballs at people. There's violence inherent in many of these games. So you see these, woke cultists trying to make video games where you do things like walk around and pick flowers, saying like, see, you don't need to make video games all about violence. And don't get me wrong, there are games that don't have violence in it. I'm not super sure about, Animal Crossing, but I'm pretty sure there's no violence in Animal Crossing. And there are puzzle games as well. Those can all be fun. But why take a game that's based upon some kind of violent action and destroy it? Why take these games and change the franchises and inject your insane woke cultism into it? Because of this, people push back. But pushing back is not enough. These companies will keep doing it. The content will keep getting worse. But you know what? We have the good news. You know what it is? It was only a matter of time. They keep excising people. I've said this before as well. If you have a large bubble where everyone is hanging out, this big room, but you keep kicking people out of the room, eventually the party on the other side will be much bigger and much more fun. And that's what's happening. As the left tries to kick more and more people out of the left, they say, I'm conservative. I love it. Newsweek ran an article where they were like, conservatives are outraged. Conservative commentator Tim Pool. I didn't realize conservatives were in favor of public social programs and progressive taxes and were pro-choice, but I guess apparently now they are. It's conservative, sure. It's all about whether you're in the cult or not. Because I can be left on a ton of economic policy and still be called conservative, even though even on social policy, I'm fairly progressive. It's amazing because they can't have you on their side. By all means, kick me out of the left. I never cared in the first place. I've never considered myself a conservative. I'm from Chicago, and I've always considered myself to be a liberal. Even policy-wise, I'm very much in a similar position to, like, Bill Maher, for instance, even though Bill Maher's got Trump derangement syndrome. But they'll say that's conservative. Fine. You know what's going to happen? I'll walk over to the Daily Wire and see what they got playing on the old Daily Wire entertainment channel. You know what? I don't want the Daily Wire on my smart TV. You know why? Well, right now, let me tell you this. If I have these smart TV apps. I've got Hulu, I got Netflix, I got, Disney Plus. I canceled Netflix and Disney Plus, mind you, but the apps are on the TV. If I turn on the Daily Wire, what am I going to get? Ben Shapiro saying things that I mostly know about. Matt Walsh, Andrew Klavan, much respect to all of them. But I don't want it on my TV because, well, I don't want work and politics on my entertainment. You know what I mean? I go online. I do work all day, every day. Now, let me stop right there. I actually do want the Daily Wire on my smart TVs or my Roku or whatever, because now they've got movies. They need to start doing more movies. They need to start doing TV shows. Give me a space cowboy opera with Gina Carano, and I'll watch the whole thing and subscribe to the Daily Wire. I am subscribed to the Daily Wire, mind you, but I would put it on my TV and I would say, let's watch the new movie. Let's watch the new programming. So the Daily Wire, you need to start producing much more than this one movie. And they probably are. They need to get the ball rolling. But more importantly, I'm going to be doing the same thing. Now, my company is nowhere near the size of the Daily Wire, to be completely honest. We've got one host and basically 2 shows so far. But I'm trying to figure out a way to actually grow this. Why? I'm not a conservative. Sorry, it's just not true. I don't go to church. I don't go to synagogue, and I don't go to mosque. Like Ben Shapiro mentioned about raising conservatives, I hold many liberal positions. But I'm not a psychopath, and I'm not in a cult. And there needs to be a place for people who know and respect conservatives while disagreeing with them to have another place for content. I like what the Daily Wire is doing, and I'm looking forward to watching their movie. And I'm really looking forward to what they produce with Gina. I would also like to produce a space where we can start growing a culture around what's supposed to be liberal, or what used to be until the woke cult started coming into power. A lot of these people, so they say Gina Carano is a conservative. And I think based on a lot of her posts, maybe she might be more of a libertarian than anything. We'll see. I don't want to, define her. I don't know what her politics are. There are a lot of liberals, though. There are a lot of liberals I know, like real ones, not the woke crazy people. People who are just like left of center, who mostly are like, I disagree with people like Ben Shapiro, but hey, more power to him. Let's have a debate. Let's have a conversation. It sounds fun, and we'll disagree. I sat down with Glenn Beck, I think it was almost 2 years ago now, a year and a half ago. And he's pro-life and I'm pro-choice. And we ultimately shook hands and shrugged and said, you know what, like, I'll try my best to understand you, and we'll disagree, and we'll just have to figure out a way to move forward. And I'm like, absolutely, man. This is great to be here and talk with you. That's awesome. I love it. I want that. I want there to be a platform like Disney Plus or like Hulu that creates awesome content where we can make jokes and not have to be, censoring everything. George Carlin, one of the most famous lefty comedians, did this huge rant pro-feminism, but also talked about the right to make jokes and free speech. Noam Chomsky used to be super pro-free speech. I don't know if he still is. The left used to be in favor of freedom, opposing authoritarianism and corporatism. That's the left I want back. I don't want psychotic communists. I'm not saying all communists. I'm saying the psychotic ones, the tankies, the authoritarians. If you want to live in a little commune by yourself, that's cool. People do it. It's awesome. I want to be able to sit down with them and be like, here's why we disagree. Let's figure out how you guys can be in peace and we can be in peace, and we can work together on those compromises, which means the Daily Wire can produce this, and I'm stoked for it. But it also means we need to reclaim the left space. And I don't mean far left. The socialists are always welcome to have the discussions and debates. And I'm always in favor of having, arguments about why, class war and all that stuff and what the problems with it are. The problems with the billionaire elites and everything. But I'm pretty left. I'm left libertarian on a lot of issues. The reason I find myself more often agreeing with conservatives is because more conservatives tend to be libertarian, believing in freedom and individual rights. Here's what I want. 2 fronts, a pincer attack. You've got the authoritarian left dominating cultural institutions. Ben Shapiro is launching this attack on the conservative front, and now we need disaffected liberals, people who are slightly left on economic policy and social policy, but agree with freedom and disagree with the cult, creating another platform to challenge the establishment, woke, neo-liberal, neo-racist, corporatist, whatever you want to call it. There are a lot of progressives that pretend to be against that, but they're pretty much for it, supporting the establishment machine. And maybe in the end, it's just ultimately going to be centrists because the far left may be too far gone. But I do think there are many anti-woke leftists who would absolutely be okay with edgy humor and making fun of conservatives all the same. That's what we need to do to shut out the cult. We need more than just conservatives doing this. We need those in Hollywood, those in the music industry who are not conservative but don't like the wokeness to speak up and join in. And that's when we have them routed, and that's when we take back the institutions. Fingers crossed, I suppose. It starts here, 2021. A lot of people may be pessimistic. I was fairly pessimistic a couple days ago on the IRL podcast talking about James Lindsay saying we've lost, that, the idea of winning is out of the question. And I still think he's right. But I think that means when we say we've lost, it's because the government and cultural institutions have been dominated. We still have the ability to build our own and create something of our own and have our own infrastructure. There's a chance that we may not win back the castle, but we can use what resources we have to build a new one. And eventually, as that castle keeps kicking everybody out, they'll come join us and live happily and in peace, and they'll be allowed to speak their minds without getting frustrated or scared or angry. And that's it. That's the goal. I hope we make it there. I think it's time to start working on it. So the first thing you can do is buy our pillow. I'm kidding. Go to timcast.com, become a member. Next segment's coming up at 8 p.m. tonight. YouTube.com/TimcastIRL. It's the live podcast show. We'll answer your questions in the super chat. So come hang out. We'll see you there. Thanks for hanging out. And we'll see you tonight.